Well, just about 2 weeks ago, the Tobago Heritage Festival announced plans for the staging of the event from July 14th to August 1st, which is Emancipation Day, and it has received $7 million this year, which is a decrease of about $3.5 million from last year. Now, this was confirmed by the new chairman of the Heritage Festival Committee, George Leacock, who joins us live from Tobago. Good morning, Mr. Leacock, chairman of the Tobago Heritage Festival. How are you?
Good morning, good morning. I'm doing fine. I thank you for choosing your feel-good moment to suit exactly what we're talking about in the Heritage Festival. Jump into the dance, and it's all about change. Let me start off by telling you that at 7:30 this morning, our flash mob will flash the Brian Lara Promenade, and people who are going by at that time, I suppose, mysteriously, magically, a little piece of the Tobago Heritage Festival will materialize on the promenade this morning. Harris Promenade, San Fernando, Arima, and the Piaco Airport are in the line for later today. But of course, I'm not going to give you exact times. I don't want to give you more than maybe 10 or 15 minutes notice, which is what you have of the first one this morning. Tremendously enthusiastic bunch of young people, and it's going to be epic.
So, I mean, you know, just to basically bring up the first topic, of course, the issue of the budget. We've seen a cut in budget this year. Obviously, we'd have to make some changes. So what changes are expected? First of all, would you suggest there be a merger of some of the events to basically cut costs to accommodate this and this big show?
Well, of course, in Trinidad and Tobago, in most things, I think we can manage finances a little bit better. And that's worth something in terms of saving. And another thing that we did was, in fact, to merge some shows. We've merged what was previously the Pan Folkorama, the Calypso competition, and the Old Time Carnival into one day of Old Time Carnival. Maybe you can call it a little bit period specific. Starts in Plymouth on the 22nd, and starts with the Juve in the morning. Interesting thing about the Juve is that all the music providers, including the brass band that we will have, the Tambu Bamboo Band, and the steel band, and of course the DJs, would be playing music from a specific period. It could go back to the 70s era in the case of the steel bands, and maybe a little later than that in the case of the DJs. Of course, we'd leave 10% of time to play to this year's road march, but it's a picture of Carnival at a particular point in time. Later in the afternoon, 4:30, we will go to the parade of the bands, and of course, it's going to be traditional characters in the bands. That slides smoothly into the steel band's 70s clash, and the steel bands, 9 bands have signed up to participate, and they'll be playing the road marches of the 70s. So from 1970 to 1979, of course, I suppose in the draw everybody was hoping to get Shadow, but there are 2 Calypso Roses in there, 2 Sparrows, I think 2 Kitcheners, Poser, I Tell She Fine a Party. So those are the songs that will be played in the steel band competition. And then we go immediately to the Calypso competition. The Calypso competition, 6 finalists were selected yesterday, and they are going to sing a contemporary heritage song. And then in the second round of competition, they're going to sing a Calypso or soca song from prior to 1985. So it's old time Carnival. A lot of people have been arguing, of course, since Carnival time about whether Tobago should have a second Carnival and all of that. There will be an old time Carnival, and it will take place in Plymouth during this year's Tobago Heritage Festival. You know, check out the schedule and make sure you put yourself in a place to be there. We've combined our art exhibition, artifact exhibition, and food fair That's the Friday before that, and it's going to be on the Esplanade in Scarborough. And you'll have an opportunity to come for all local food and also see the exhibition. And the final combination of events we have for Emancipation Day, we used to have a drum explosion. The drum explosion and the Emancipation Day celebration have been combined.
Some fantastic developments there, of course, and we're just basically 4 days away. How are plans coming along, and do you foresee any major challenges in the near future with respect to planning?
Well, this is not plan time. A plan has not done anything. We're in full execution mode. I can tell you, for example, the opening ceremony, they have rehearsals scheduled all week. I am told that today is technical day, so all of the lights and sound and all of that will be done today. Yesterday they were blocking the program after coming out of rehearsal in studio to get it onto the big stage at Shaw Park. And we have, as the producer of that show, young Jared Primer, who is the short film producer from Tobago, short films that receive critical acclaim internationally and locally. Those were called The Red Man and The Witness in recent film festivals and so on. He is the producer along with the Tobago Theatre Company, and it's poor-raising kind of stuff. The story is his story, her imagination, being told by a Nancy, fast-moving presentation, about 120, 125 minutes or so, and it's not one that you want to miss.
Awesome.
Of course, that's Friday at the Shaw Park Complex.
Now, unfortunately, the Sea Bridge issue would definitely come to the fore at this point in time. Do you foresee any challenges in terms of the turnout at this event due to the impact that the Sea Bridge issue would probably pose on this entire event?
Well, I'm sure that continues to be a little bit of a challenge. From what we've been assured, this will be resolved at least by the middle of the festival. So the thought did actually cross my mind to call the port and name the first voyage of whatever vessel comes through or come passing the trip to Tobago Heritage. So we're going to turn, however it turns, this to our advantage as far as we're concerned and try to make the best of the situation. There is usually a challenge with people getting to Tobago on the weekend, but let me remind everybody that we have 2 weeks of events with the exception largely of Tuesdays. We thought that leaving 1 day a week open allows an opportunity for somebody other than the state, the private sector and so on to be involved in putting on events as a part of the festival, develop a little bit of a fringe festival as it were. You shouldn't really have a situation where the state-run event dominates the entire landscape for the 2-week period, and nobody else, no other promoter, has an opportunity. So it's 2 weeks of activities. And remember, too, we're really trying to emphasize an educational element of it so that you learn something while being entertained.
And also, very quickly, we understand that the opening night will be directed by film director and screenwriter Jared Primer under the theme, his story, her imagination. How is that progressing?
I would say in a poor-raising fashion. I was at rehearsals last night. It was the first time they transitioned from the studio to the big stage. And his story would be told, and her imagination will present itself in a position to be revealed as we go along.
One final question, sir. Mr. John Arnold resigned as senior tourism advisor last week. Would you say that that has had any significant impact basically on the Tobago Heritage Festival at all?
Well, John Arnold holds an important position at the Shaw Park complex, and that's the only interface between the Heritage Festival and Mr. Arnold. I can say to you, however, that over the last 2 weeks, due to a sort of happy circumstance, there is a choir visiting from the United States, a quite accomplished choir. we will have an opportunity to have that choir participate in the festival along with the Signal Hill Alumni Choir, where Mr. Arnold is a main player. And it's an addition that we sort of putting together. It's going to be more of a social interface with the choir, with the foreign choir and some local performers, including the music amateurs of Tobago and so on. And as I said, this is not something that was planned. This is not something that's going to be a high-cost event for us at all. It's probably going to be held in one of the smaller breakout rooms at the Show Park complex. And it will be a very interesting evening of choral singing and things of the like.
Thank you so much joining us there from Tobago, Mr. George Leacock, Chairman of the Tobago Carnival Committee. And we take it to our package. Chairman of the Tobago Carnival Committee, which you just heard from, Mr. George Leacock, he was recently appointed Chairman of the Tobago Heritage Festival Committee following Wendell Berkeley's surprising resignation from the position. Now, Mr. Leacock said he accepted the position on short notice, basically knowing there would be many challenges like, for instance, the lack of sufficient funding and perhaps even the limited time he has before the heritage season starts. So let's just take a quick look at this package.
Chairman of the Tobago Carnival Committee, George Leacock, was recently appointed Chairman of the Tobago Heritage Festival Committee following Wendell Berkeley's surprising resignation from the position. Mr. Leacock said he accepted the position on short notice, knowing there would be many challenges like the lack of sufficient funding and the limited time he has before the heritage season starts.
In this circumstance, I accepted the position and the challenges, and I have not been disappointed. There are challenges. I will, however, present no excuses now or at any time. We will have a worthwhile Tobago Heritage Festival that represents value for money and will point the direction for what should happen in the future.
Mr. Leacock said several changes were made to ensure the funds allocated were properly utilized. The once year-round event was cut and returns to its 2-week schedule.
Shows have been combined to reduce infrastructural costs with the added benefit of probably combining the audiences of those 2 shows or 3 shows or whatever it might be into a larger audience. And all budgets have been reduced, but more importantly, they have been examined for relevance, to reduce waste, and to eliminate unauthorized expenditure.
He promised value for money, saying the festival would showcase accurate depictions of Tobago's history under the theme Bring Back the Old Time Days, with its sub-theme Lenhan. Given that many seem to have lost interest in the event, Mr. Leacock shared how he plans to pull a larger crowd this year.
We are aware of the 6 shows in the Heritage Festival. I'm not going to tell you the names, that are the shows that are the major pulls to the festival. And our intent is to use those shows to bring along the others.
The Tobago Heritage Festival runs from July 14th to August 1st. The opening night will be directed by film director and screenwriter Jared Primer under the theme His Story, Her Imagination. I'm Patricia Nicholson for C News.